This is from May 2023, so it's a couple years old. Securing the injunction pending appeal against the ATF's pistol brace rule is a huge win because now we know we can end the rule, plain and simple. And this is, again, May 2023. Let's see if there's a video here I can play for you for entertainment purposes. And again, this is a post by the Firearms Policy Coalition, which I wholeheartedly support.
You must have wounded it. Its blood was on the leaves.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. So let me do this. Let me provide a little more background on how we got here. You know what? Before I do that, let me explain what an arm brace is. Maybe not everybody knows what an arm brace is. So this is an arm brace. The part I put in the red square here, and this is an AR pattern rifle. So the most commonly owned rifle, pattern rifle in America. If you don't own one of these, folks, you're doing it wrong. Every American citizen should own at least one functional, working AR rifle, also a pistol. That's kind of basic requirements for being a practical American citizen. And normally these come with a shoulder stock that you would put against your shoulder as you would normally fire a rifle. And the shoulder stocks are often adjustable, so they can be adjusted to make the rifle, the overall length of the rifle, shorter or longer to fit different people. My young daughters need a rifle that's of a shorter overall length than I would use, for example. An adjustable stock is useful for this. By the way, one of the characteristics that was banned during the Clinton assault weapons ban, and is still banned in many states that have adopted their own assault weapons ban. When I lived in Massachusetts, for example, and I bought an AR, it came with what looked like an adjustable stock, but it was actually pinned in place. And if I had removed the pin so it could be adjustable, I would have been committing a felony under Massachusetts law. So you have shoulder stocks that are often adjustable. And then they came out with these arm braces that would be put on in place of the shoulder stock. And the idea for this was, and this is around the time when we had a lot of military veterans coming back from combat that had suffered horrific injuries, often disabling injuries, where an arm, one of their arms, might have been disabled or completely lost. So it's very difficult to use a rifle in the normal manner with one hand. So somebody invented these arm braces. You take the shoulder stock off, you put the arm brace on, you can wrap the arm brace around your arm. It effectively braces the gun. Another artifact of this is if the firearm does not have a shoulder stock and it has a short enough barrel, it's technically a pistol, not a rifle. And you can buy it as a pistol, and it's regulated as a pistol. But if you take that firearm with no buttstock and a short barrel, that's a pistol because it doesn't have a buttstock, and then you add a buttstock, it becomes classified as a short-barreled rifle, which is a problem because short-barreled rifles are in the same bucket and short-barreled shotguns and suppressors and destructive devices. They're all in the same bucket as machine guns under federal gun law. So to possess it, you have to pay a $200 tax. You have to undergo various separate registration with the federal government. There's rules about moving them across state lines. It's all very complicated. It could take a year for the tax stamp or more to come back. You may need the approval of a local law enforcement officer, your local police chief, to sign off on the paperwork, none of which you have to do for a pistol, but you do have to do for a short-barreled rifle. And if you don't do those things and you're caught with a unregistered, untaxed short-barreled rifle, it's a federal felony. You go to prison for 10 years. Well, the distinction between these things can be rather subtle. So here's an example. At the top here, we have a shoulder stock. Happens to be an adjustable shoulder stock. You have the actual firearm, and then you have a barrel. If the barrel's 16 inches or longer, this is all a rifle. That's how the ATF classifies it. But what if the barrel is shorter than 16 inches? Well, then the same firearm becomes a short-barreled rifle, subject to all the registration and taxes and criminal federal penitentiary liability that I just talked about. But what if you have all of that with the short barrel and you take the stock off and you put a stabilizing brace or an arm brace on it? Well, then it's a pistol, perfectly lawful to own. So these really very cosmetic changes change from something lawful with a 16-inch barrel to something unlawful without registration and taxes if it has a short barrel under 16 inches to something that's lawful again because you put a stabilizing brace under it. Are these weapons capable of doing different things? They're all firing the same cartridge. They're all really the same gun. And these are technical traps for gun owners that all should be found facially unconstitutional. Again, the Second Amendment doesn't say the right to keep and bear arms of a certain length shall not be infringed. The right to keep and bear arms of particular kinds of shoulder stocks or arm braces shall not be infringed. It simply says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, of course, there are practical reasons why the owner of a rifle or a pistol, a firearm, may want that firearm to be more compact rather than less compact. You may want to carry it in a backpack. You may want to carry it in a suitcase. You may want to carry it in a vehicle of constrained space. You may want to be able to store it in a smaller location than a full-length rifle would be able to fit into. Lots of reasons, lots of practical, perfectly lawful reasons why you might want a firearm with the capabilities of a rifle, but in a smaller, compact package. And a lot of law-abiding American citizens were purchasing AR pistols, perfectly lawful, the AR platform with a short barrel, and then putting stabilizing braces on them, which was lawful to do. And that gave them a very compact AR platform firearm. And then Biden's ATF says, we don't like that because we think it has the functionality of a short-barreled rifle and therefore should be registered and taxed and carry all the criminal federal penitentiary liability of a short-barreled rifle. And how they applied this rule varied over time. So sometimes they would say, hey, just putting on the stabilizing brace, that breaks federal law. You've now created a short-barreled rifle. You're a felon. You're looking at 10 years in a federal penitentiary. Other times they'd say, well, the brace is fine if you're using it as a brace for your arm. But if it happens to touch your shoulder, then suddenly you've become a felon looking at 10 years in a federal penitentiary. You can have it on your cheek, but if it touches your shoulder, suddenly you're a felon. Does any of this make any sense? Or is this all obviously intended as a federal felon trap for gun owners intending to be completely law-abiding? So that's the whole issue here that Firearms Policy Coalition was fighting way back in May 2023. Mark Smith, Second Amendment scholar, he does. You should check out his YouTube channel. He does great work on all this stuff. A big focus on Second Amendment stuff, but he covers other things as well. I'm a big fan of Mark's work, so you should definitely give him a follow on YouTube. And this was done in 2024. This was actually an interesting facet in the course of this litigation. It did at one point get up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and there was a dissent. And of course, the dissent was the usual cabal of three. Justice Sonia, the wise Latina DEI Sotomayor, Justice Elena, no, I've never been married, never had kids. Why do you ask? Kagan, and Justice Ketanji, I'm not a biologist. How do you know what a woman is? Jackson. And the dissent was written by Sotomayor. Sotomayor doesn't like the arm braces because she says, with the arm brace, within a matter of minutes, using several hundred rounds of ammunition, the Vegas shooter, we all remember that event, right? Killed 58 people and wounded over, or here she was talking about bump stocks, not arm braces, but the argument is the same. Killed 58 people, wounded over 500. He did so by affixing bump stocks to commonly available semi-automatic rifles, meaning AR-15 platform rifles. Well, by long existing Supreme Court precedents on Second Amendment law, the thing that's most protected by the Second Amendment is commonly available semi-automatic rifles. So if that's the AR-15, it gets the ultimate of protection. Here's a little video clip from Representative Byron Donald of Florida talking about arm braces. Let's hear what he has to say on this. And this is from, again, 2 years ago, June 2023. Everybody was already recognizing this Biden arm brace rule was nonsense.
The question for the people in the gallery, the people watching C-SPAN across our country is, have you ever seen a pistol brace? It is mostly plastic and or carbon fiber. It wraps around your forearm and it has a little pole that sticks out to the midpoint of your hand. The purpose of said brace is for people who actually had an arm injury but still wanted to take advantage of their Second Amendment rights. And the ATF, more than a decade ago, allowed that brace to be sold in the United States. And now we have same ATF who's deciding unilaterally to go back and say that that brace now needs to be registered. And if you don't register it, you are a felon in the United States. If that is not a gross violation of separation of powers, I don't know what is.
On this.
Okay. Repeal. I guess they voted to repeal the stabilizing brace rule, but it's still been in litigation for years and years. Here's another video, a little bit about arm braces to illustrate this for those who may not be familiar with it.
This is an Uzi pistol. I think most of you would agree it's a handgun. Now, if I shoot it like this is an Uzi pistol. I think most of you would agree it's a handgun. Now, if I shoot it like this, or if I shoot it like this, or if I touch it to my shoulder, did I redesign that into a rifle? That'd be kind of a dumb argument to make. This is an Uzi Pro pistol. It's a handgun. This is a brace. The ATF says that this is a handgun. If I shoot it like this, or if I just happen to incidentally try to shoot it from the cheek, but it touches the shoulder and shoot it like this, did I just break the law or redesign the handgun to a rifle because it just happened to touch my shoulder? I'm interested in what you have to say.
I say no. I say no. So that's what's been in play with this arm brace rule. And that's why it's so nice to see that Donald Trump's Department of Justice under Pamela Bondi has decided to do this. Thanks for watching this highlight segment of our full-length Law of Self-Defense live stream. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more expert analysis on politics, law, and how to be hard to convict. And to watch the full-length episode of this show, just click right here. Stay safe.